Chief Observer Vela stood motionless before the Zalaxian High Council, her bioluminescent markings pulsing with nervous energy. The massive crystal chamber, carved from their homeworld's famous azure minerals, held 18 of her species' most respected leaders. Their translucent bodies caught the light of their binary stars, casting ethereal patterns across the polished floor. "Honorable Council," she began, her voice clear despite her anxiety. "I come before you with discoveries that challenge everything we believed about Deathworlds." The council members' bodies rippled, a sign of attention among their kind. Vela had spent the last 3 cycles studying transmissions from a planet that by all logical measures should have been uninhabitable. A world with crushing gravity, extreme temperature variations, and an atmosphere thick with reactive gases. "The species calls themselves humans," she continued, activating the holographic display. Images filled the chamber, cities stretching toward the sky, vessels crossing vast oceans, and beings that moved with surprising grace despite their dense musculature. Elder Nixus, his form clouded with skepticism, spoke first. "Another Deathworld species. We have learned harsh lessons from such encounters before. The Ravagers nearly destroyed 3 of our colonies last cycle." "With respect, Elder," Vela countered, "these humans are different." She played a sequence of transmissions. They build hospitals to heal their sick. They risk their lives to save other species on their planet. They create art, music, and literature that speaks of hope, love, and sacrifice. A primitive cultural veneer. Council members are dismissed. All Deathworlders show such traits in their early development. The Ravagers once created poetry too, before they became the scourge of the galaxy. Vela's markings flashed with passionate colors. "Then explain this." New images appeared, humans helping each other after natural disasters, organizing massive relief efforts, working together to overcome challenges that would crush most species. They don't just survive their harsh world. They thrive on helping others survive it too. Their physical capabilities alone make them dangerous, Elder Nixus argued. "Our simulations show they could tear through our strongest materials, survive in environments that would kill us instantly. One human could overpower 10 of our strongest warriors. Yet they choose not to," Vela insisted. "Look at their history. Yes, they've had wars. But they've also developed complex systems of laws, ethics, and cooperation. They actively work to protect the weaker species on their planet." The chamber fell silent as more images played. Humans rehabilitating injured animals, building sanctuaries for endangered species, sacrificing their own comfort to help others. Their movements, though powerful, showed careful restraint. "There's more," Vela continued. "They're advancing rapidly. Their technology is primitive compared to ours, but their rate of progress is unprecedented. Within a few cycles, they'll achieve faster than light travel. They will find us, eventually. Wouldn't it be better to meet them as potential friends rather than waiting in fear?" Elder Nix's form shifted thoughtfully. "And if you're wrong, if they prove to be like the Ravagers, then we'll have lost nothing by trying," Vela answered. "But if I'm right, if these humans truly represent a new kind of Deathworld species, think of what we could learn from each other. Their strength could protect us. Our technology could help them. Together, we might create something unprecedented in the galaxy's history." The council chambers erupted in discussion, members' bodies flickering with various colors of emotion. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Elder Nixus raised his appendage for silence. "Your argument has merit, Chief Observer," he said slowly. "But we must proceed with extreme caution. You will leave a small team to establish first contact. Choose a neutral location. Develop comprehensive safety protocols. If these humans truly are different from other Deathworlders, they will understand our need for precaution." Vela's markings pulsed with joy and relief. "Thank you, Honorable Council. I already have a plan for first contact. There's a human space station in orbit around their moon. It would be the perfect neutral ground, a place where both our species would need to rely on technology to survive. As she left the chamber, Vela felt both excitement and trepidation. Everything hinged on this first meeting. She had studied humans for so long, learned their languages, watched their stories, observed their behaviors. She believed in their potential. Now she just had to prove to everyone else that sometimes the strongest beings in the universe could also be the kindest. In her quarters, she began preparing the first contact protocols, watching more human transmissions as she worked. A particular phrase from their broadcasts caught her attention. The true measure of strength lies not in how much power you have, but in how you choose to use it. Perhaps, she thought, that was the key difference between humans and other Deathworlders. It wasn't about what they could do, but what they chose to do. Now she just had to hope she had chosen correctly in advocating for them. The International Space Station Harmony hummed with tension as Commander Sarah Chen watched the alien vessel approach. Its crystalline structure caught Earth's light, sending rainbow refractions across the observation deck. Behind her, a mix of scientists, diplomats, and security personnel tried to maintain their composure. Zalaxian vessel holding at 1 kilometer, Commander, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. Their approach follows our protocols exactly. Well, at least they're careful, Sarah muttered. When humanity had received the first contact message 3 months ago, the world had been thrown into a frenzy. The Zalaxians' message had been surprisingly direct. They were a peaceful species that had observed humanity for years, worried about our death world strength, but hopeful about our potential. The communication panel chimed. This is Chief Observer Vela of the Zalaxian Diplomatic Corps requesting docking permission. Sarah took a deep breath. Permission granted, Chief Observer. Welcome to Harmony Station. The docking procedure was meticulous. The Zalaxians' crystalline ship extended a specialized airlock bridge, compensating for the different atmospheric requirements of both species. When the inner doors finally opened, Sarah found herself face to face with beings that seemed almost made of living glass. Vela stood slightly taller than a human, her translucent body containing swirling patterns of bioluminescence. Behind her, 5 other Zalaxians moved with fluid grace in the station's artificial gravity. Their environmental suits were minimal, designed more for atmospheric conversion than protection. Commander Chen, Vela's voice came through the translator, her body pulsing with colors that the human scientists would later learn indicated respect and cautious optimism. We are honored by this welcome. The honor is ours, Sarah replied, following the carefully choreographed diplomatic protocol. Though I admit, we're curious why you chose our station for this meeting. Because here, Commander, both our species must rely on technology to survive. It seemed appropriate for building trust. The initial meetings proceeded smoothly, until the proximity alarm blared through the station. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice cracked over the comm. Commander, micrometeoroid swarm detected. Impact in 40 seconds. Sarah's training kicked in instantly. All personnel, emergency stations, seal all compartments. She turned to the Zalaxians. Chief Observer, you should return to your vessel immediately. But Vela was already moving toward the station's engineering display, her body flashing with rapid colors. Commander, your shields won't hold against this density of impacts. But if we can link our ship's deflector system with your station's electromagnetic field. That's impossible, Dr. Harrison, the station's chief engineer, interrupted. The power systems aren't compatible. They don't need to be. Vela's movements became more urgent as the countdown continued. We need a bridge between systems, your bodies. You conduct electricity far better than ours. Sarah understood immediately. You're talking about using us as living conductors. That could kill a Zalaxian. But not a human. Vela's colors pulsed with what Sarah would later learn was admiration. This is why we chose this station, Commander. Sometimes strength means being able to endure what others cannot. 20 seconds to impact. Sarah made her decision. Dr. Harrison, clear engineering. I'll be the conductor. Commander, no. Rodriguez started. That's an order. Sarah was already moving. Chief Observer, let's do this. The next 15 seconds were a blur of activity. Sarah positioned herself between the station's main power coupling and the Xylaxian deflector interface. The moment of connection sent electricity coursing through her body. It was excruciating, but she held on, becoming the living bridge between two alien technologies. The impacts came like a hammer against the combined shield. Through pain-blurred vision, Sarah saw the Xylaxians working in perfect coordination with her crew, making micro-adjustments to power flow, compensating for fluctuations. Their bodies flashed with colors she'd never seen before. When it was over, Sarah found herself in the medical bay, surrounded by concerned faces, both human and Xylaxian. Vela's form rippled with what the commander now recognized as worry. "That was either the bravest or most foolish thing I've ever witnessed," the chief observer said. Sarah managed a weak smile. "On Earth, we often find those two things go hand in hand." She tried to sit up but was gently pushed back by both Dr. Harrison and a Xylaxian medical officer. Did it work? Perfectly. Vela's colors shifted to something warmer. "You risked your life to save both crews. Among our people, such actions are difficult to comprehend. We avoid danger. We survive through caution. Sometimes the greatest caution is knowing when to take a necessary risk," Sarah replied. "Besides, you risked something too. You trusted us with your technology, your people. That takes its own kind of courage." The incident became known as the Harmony Bridge, the moment when two very different species learned that strength and vulnerability could exist in the same space. The Xylaxians discovered that physical power could be tempered by wisdom and sacrifice, while humans learned that their Deathworld capabilities could be used to protect rather than intimidate. As Sarah recovered, she noticed the Xylaxian crew moving more comfortably around the humans, their initial fear replaced by genuine curiosity. She caught Vela studying the station's Earth observation window, the alien's body reflecting the blue-green planet below. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Sarah asked, joining her. "Yes," Vela replied. "Though once we thought such a world could only produce monsters. Now I see it produced guardians instead." The alert came during what should have been a routine joint patrol. Captain Maya Patel stood on the bridge of the UES Defender, watching the holographic display as red warning markers multiplied across the sector map. Beside her, Xylaxian First Guardian Kex's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. "Nomad Raiders." Kex's translator conveyed the grimness in their tone. 3 battle cruisers, headed for the Xylaxian mining colony on Epsilon VI. They've already disabled the early warning beacons. Maya studied the tactical display. The Nomads were infamous throughout this sector of space, a coalition of outcasts from various Deathworld species who had chosen to prey on peaceful civilizations. Their ships were a nightmare patchwork of stolen technology and brutal efficiency. "How many colonists on Epsilon VI?" Maya asked, already calculating possibilities. 8,000. Kex's body flickered with distress patterns, mostly scientists and their families. The colony's defenses weren't built to withstand this level of assault. The Defender was the only human warship within range, running joint exercises with Kex's much lighter Xylaxian vessel, the Starweaver. Traditional military doctrine would say they were hopelessly outgunned. Maya smiled. Traditional doctrine hadn't caught up with human Xylaxian cooperation. "First Guardian, remember that maneuver we were theorizing about last week. The one your tactical officer said was impossible." Kex's form shifted to a color Maya had learned meant sudden understanding. "The gravity sling." "Captain, that was theoretical. The precision required would be impossible for either of our species alone," Maya finished. "But together." She turned to her crew. "Battle stations. Lieutenant Wong, plot an intercept course to Epsilon VI. Commander Rodriguez, begin power transfer to the gravitational projectors." The next 20 minutes were a blur of preparation. The Defender and Starweaver moved in perfect synchronization, their crews linked through the joint command system developed after the Harmony Bridge incident. The Zylaxians' mastery of gravitational technology complemented human tactical innovation in ways their enemies had never encountered. Nomad vessels approaching colonial space, Rodriguez reported. They're launching boarding pods toward the surface. Not if we can help it. Maya's voice was steel. Execute Operation Slingshot. Now, what happened next would be studied in both human and Zylaxian military academies for years to come. The Starweaver, using its advanced gravity manipulation systems, created a corridor of warped space. The much heavier human vessel, its engines at full power, used this corridor like an ancient sling, accelerating to speeds that should have been impossible. The Nomads never saw it coming. One moment they were beginning their attack run. The next, a human warship was tearing through their formation at relativistic speeds, its modified shields creating a bow wave of gravitational distortion that sent two of the battlecruisers spinning out of control. Hard about, Maya ordered as they passed the enemy formation. Traditional assault pattern. Let's show them what happens when they threaten our allies. The battle that followed was brief but intense. The defenders' human-designed weapons might have been less advanced, but they were built to hit hard. The Starweaver's precision strikes disabled the Nomads' engines and weapons with surgical accuracy. When the third battlecruiser tried to flee, it found itself caught in a gravitational net, unable to escape. In the aftermath, as colonial defense forces secured the captured raiders, Maya found herself in the Epsilon VI colony's main hall. Thousands of Zylaxian civilians, their bodies shimmering with relief and gratitude, gathered to thank their protectors. Children, their forms still semi-transparent with youth, darted between human and Zylaxian crew members with equal comfort. "I never thought I'd see this," Keck said, joining her at the observation window. "My people used to tell stories to frighten our young about creatures from high-gravity worlds. Now those same creatures are our children's heroes." Maya watched a human engineer showing a group of fascinated Zylaxian scientists some modifications they'd made to their gravity plating. "Strength isn't just about who can hit hardest," she said. "It's about knowing when to hit, when to help, and when to protect." "The Nomads will return." Kex's colors shifted to concern. "They always do. Let them." Maya's voice was firm. "Let them tell every other raider and pirate in the galaxy what happened here. Let them spread the word that humanity doesn't just protect its own. We protect our friends, and we're very, very good at it." A small Zylaxian child approached Maya, its tiny form glowing with the pure colors of youth. In its hands, it held a crystal, a traditional Zylaxian symbol of protection. The child offered it without fear, without hesitation. Maya accepted the gift carefully, mindful of her greater strength. This, she thought, was what they were fighting for. Not just survival, not just peace, but a future where strength and gentleness could coexist. Where being from a death world didn't make you a monster, it made you a guardian. The Grand Council chamber on New Harmony Station buzzed with activity, its vast circular space filled with representatives from 12 different species. Ambassador Sarah Chen, promoted after her historic role in the First Contact incident, stood beside Chief Diplomat Vela, watching the proceedings with measured optimism. 3 years had passed since the Battle of Epsilon VI, and the galaxy had changed. Word of how humans and Zylaxians have fought together spread quickly through the trade routes and diplomatic channels. What began as a simple alliance had evolved into something unprecedented, a beacon of hope for peaceful species who had long lived in fear of Deathworld raiders. "The Centauri Collective requests protection status," announced the current speaker, a delicate avian being whose iridescent feathers trembled slightly. "We offer our quantum computation expertise in exchange for membership in the Guardian Accord." Sarah caught Vela's subtle color shift, amusement mixed with pride. When they had first drafted the Guardian Accord, neither had imagined it would grow so quickly. The principle was simple. Peaceful species would contribute their unique technological or cultural strengths, while human and Zylaxian forces provided security and protection. "The collective's request is welcomed," Vela responded, her crystalline form gleaming under the chamber's lights. "However, we must be clear. The Accord is not merely a defensive pact. We require all members to actively participate in cultural exchange and technological cooperation. Sarah stepped forward. Humanity's history has taught us that true security comes not from walls and weapons, but from understanding and cooperation. Are you prepared for such openness? The Centauri representative's feathers rippled with determination. We have watched how your peoples work together. Humans, whom many feared for their strength, working seamlessly with Xalaxians, whom many dismissed as fragile. You've created something remarkable. We want to be part of it. As the chamber moved to discuss the specifics, Sarah's comm unit buzzed. Admiral Rodriguez, her old lieutenant from Harmony Station, needed her attention. Excusing herself, she moved to a private conference room. "What's wrong, Miel?" The Admiral's hologram appeared, his expression grave. "We've detected unusual movement along the outer rim. Remember those nomad raiders that escaped after Epsilon VI? They've been busy. We're tracking at least 30 vessels, possibly more, gathering near the Mendarin cluster." Sarah felt her stomach tighten. A revenge fleet. Worse, intelligence suggests they're spreading a message. If we can't raid in peace, no one gets to live in peace. They're recruiting every outlaw and pirate they can find. This isn't just about revenge. They want to destroy everything the Accord represents. Before Sarah could respond, Vela glided into the room, her form pulsing with concern. "You've heard then. You knew. Our long-range sensors detected their quantum wake signatures." Vela's colors shifted to determination. "We need to call an emergency session." Within hours, the chamber had transformed. Representatives from all member species gathered around a massive holographic display showing the approaching threat. The Nomad fleet appeared as a red stain spreading across the star maps. "This is precisely why we sought isolation for so long," a Centauri elder chittered nervously. "Direct confrontation with Deathworlders always leads to escalation." "No," Sarah's voice carried across the chamber. "This is precisely why isolation failed. Alone, we're vulnerable. Together," she gestured to the gathered representatives. "Look around this room. Every species here has something unique to offer. The Centauri's quantum computers can predict fleet movements. The Meridian's energy matrices can power our shields. The Xalaxian's gravity technology can control the battlefield. And humanity's strength and tactical experience can protect you all." Vela moved to stand beside her, their shadows merging on the chamber floor. For too long, the galaxy was divided between those who could fight and those who had to hide. We're creating a new way, where strength serves wisdom, and wisdom guides strength. A quiet moment passed as the assembled representatives considered their words. Then, one by one, they began to signal their support. The Centauri offered their quantum prediction arrays. The Meridians pledged their energy technology. Even the traditionally isolated Vash Collective offered their stealth systems. As the chamber erupted in purposeful activity, Sarah and Vela shared a knowing look. The coming battle would be unlike anything the galaxy had seen, not because of the size of the fleets or the strength of the weapons, but because of what they were fighting for. "They think they're coming to destroy a defensive alliance," Sarah mused, watching the preparations unfold. "They don't realize they're attacking a family." Vela's form pulsed with the color of hope. "That's why we'll win. Because we're not just fighting against something, we're fighting for everyone in this room. For every species that ever looked at the stars in fear instead of wonder." As if to emphasize her point, a young Xalaxian scientist rushed past, deep in animated discussion with a human engineer about shield harmonics. Nearby, a Centauri tactician merged their quantum calculations with a Meridian energy expert's power distributions. This, Sarah realized, was true strength, not the ability to destroy, but the power to bring people together, to protect, to build something new. And soon, the galaxy would learn just how powerful that kind of strength could be. The battle for the Mendarin cluster unfolded across 3 days of space that would forever change galactic history. Admiral Maya Patel stood on the bridge of the UES Defender, now the flagship of the Guardian Accord's combined fleet. The holographic battle display showed hundreds of ships moving in perfect coordination. Human warships providing the backbone, Xylaxian vessels weaving complex gravity fields, Centauri quantum ships predicting enemy movements, and Meridian energy craft powering their unified shields. Facing them was the largest pirate fleet ever assembled. A dark swarm of stolen and corrupted vessels commanded by those who saw the galaxy as nothing but prey. They're launching their first wave, First Guardian Kex reported, their crystalline form steady despite the tension. Nomad heavy cruisers, backed by Ravager strike craft. Maya nodded, watching the enemy formation. Just as the Centauri predicted. Signal all ships. Execute Operation Unity. What followed was unlike any battle in living memory. The raiders had expected to face a disorganized coalition. Instead, they met an orchestra of war, each species playing its perfect part in a symphony of coordination. Massive human dreadnoughts formed the front line, their thick armor absorbing punishment that would shatter lighter ships. Behind them, Xylaxian vessels created gravitational corridors, accelerating friendly ships to impossible speeds while trapping enemy vessels in space-time nets. Centauri ships, their quantum computers calculating 1 billion possibilities per second, directed precision strikes through gaps in enemy defenses that existed for mere moments. Enemy fleet attempting to concentrate fire on Sector 7. A Meridian operator chimed, their energy form pulsing with urgency. Redirect power to the Guardian Shield Matrix, Maya ordered. Across the battlefield, Meridian energy ships linked their power cores, creating defensive barriers that turned the raiders' weapons against them. The battle raged for hours. The raiders fought with desperate fury, but they faced something they couldn't understand. Strength tempered by wisdom, power guided by purpose. Every time they adapted their tactics, the Centauri predicted their moves. When they tried to overwhelm defenses, they found themselves caught in Xylaxian gravity traps. When they sought to strike at weaker allies, they met immovable walls of human ships. On the second day, the raiders attempted their masterstroke, a massive suicide run aimed at the civilian worlds behind the defensive line. They never reached their target, human crews, their Deathworld bodies allowing them to endure forces that would kill most species, pushed their ships beyond design limits to intercept. Xylaxian gravity technology caught the enemy ships in a web of distorted spacetime. Meridian energy weapons overloaded their drives. By the third day, it was over. The greatest raider fleet ever assembled had been broken, not by superior firepower alone, but by the combined strengths of species working as one. In the aftermath, Maya found herself once again in the Grand Council chamber, but this time, something was different. Among the delegates were representatives from several former raider worlds, younger members of their species who had seen the battle and recognized that there was another way to live. "We were wrong," one of them spoke, their heavy worlder frame tense with emotion. "We thought strength meant having the power to take what we wanted. You showed us it means having the wisdom to protect what matters." Vila, now the High Commissioner of the Accord, moved forward. Her crystalline form pulsed with colors of hope and welcome. "That is the lesson humanity taught us years ago. Strength without compassion is just violence. Power without purpose is just destruction." Maya watched as former enemies began to talk with former victims, discussing restoration and reconciliation. A human engineer was already working with a reformed raider technician, showing them how to convert weapon systems into shield generators. Nearby, a young Xylaxian scientist explained gravity field harmonics to an attentive group of former pirates. "Did you ever imagine this?" Vila asked, joining Maya at the observation window. Beyond the station's walls, ships from dozens of species moved in peaceful patterns, their running lights painting rivers of hope across the void. That humans would go from being feared as Deathworlders to helping build this. Maya smiled. "No, but I'm glad we were wrong about what was possible." A group of children, human, Xylaxian, Centauri, and even a few from former raider species, played together in one corner of the chamber. They moved without fear, without prejudice, sharing stories and dreams in the universal language of youth. Look at them. Vela's form rippled with joy. They'll grow up in a galaxy where strength means protecting others, where being from a high-gravity world or having evolved for peace aren't barriers but gifts to be shared. Maya nodded, watching the next generation of the galaxy's guardians at play. That's the real victory, isn't it? Not defeating the raiders, but building something worth protecting, something worth being strong for. Above them, the stars shone on a galaxy transformed, not by force of arms or fear of strength, but by the simple, powerful truth that the greatest force in the universe wasn't gravity or atomic power or even the might of Deathworld muscles. It was trust. And trust, once given and earned, could remake worlds.